Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I'm going to start with this. A mystery whale has withdrawn 150 million XRP from Binance. Now, this is all, I'm assuming, related to all the news where, Jim Cramer and all these other people are trying to scare people away from Binance. But as I say all the time, can you imagine having 150 million XRP on any exchange? That kind of blows my mind, unless you know them over there. But even then, that's kind of weird in itself. Ledger Nano S is in the top of the description of this video. Now, speaking of Binance, this Mike Alfred put this out a little bit ago, just off the phone with a fund manager closely connected to one of the earliest investors in Binance. This sounds like an inside source. This sounds like an insider like this. I don't hear from these kind of things very often. I certainly don't have any myself. He confirmed that Binance has no CFO. CZ doesn't want a single centralized CFO. Binance has 20 plus employees in its treasury, and they're like a decentralized CFO. That's interesting. Binance is in active discussions with potential new keystone investors, including Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, about an equity round that would provide support, credibility for the company. They've been active discussions with Tier 1 auditor for a month. Binance has invested $500 million in Twitter, burned $547 million worth of BNB last quarter alone. They argue that Binance has never been stronger financially. I found all these points extremely interesting. They did raise VC funding at the beginning. The earliest round was 15 million, So they're saying that they're strong financially. So I think there's just a lot of people that are trying to knock them down. And I think a lot of those people are the same people who were the backers and the pro FTX people, and they're seeking out revenge now. So this is interesting because a lot of times we only think about XRP and how it affected people in the United States, since the SEC's in the United States. But this is British Miss. She's kind of old school in the XRP community. And she said this week, 2 years ago, I never imagined the SEC was going to wipe out 45% of my value with one stroke. Like millions of other holders, I'm not American, and this department should not have jurisdiction over my value, especially when the British government gave XRP clarity. That is 1,000% correct. Why is Gary Gensler in a position to affect someone that's in Great Britain, can affect the value of their investment like that? That's ridiculous. Some guy, just because he went to just because he was at Goldman Sachs and has all his friends in high places and he's trying to protect them, is going to hurt the investment of somebody over in Europe. That is crazy. Harming investors globally for 2 years. And then there was this from XRP Bart. Here we go. FTX collapse shows crypto is too dangerous not to regulate. Bank of England debt. So across the world now, this is not about a fraud. They're trying to make it about crypto itself. They didn't do that for Madoff. They didn't do that for MF Global. They didn't do it during the financial crisis. None of them said, hey, Wall Street is horrible. We've got to get rid of Wall Street. No. That what they did instead of that, when it came to those frauds, what they did instead of that is they got the same old people who presided over all of those failures and frauds, like Gary Gensler, to be the ones that helped to put new rules in place in order to fix what they presided over in the first place. It's Looney Tune, okay? And I said, actually, it shows what government can accomplish, FTX that is, it shows what government can accomplish to try and bring in harsh regulations by working with fraudulent private industry participants. That's what it shows. Then there was this just in. SEC Chair Gensler says crypto crackdown is just getting started. So that's a good time for a reminder that Glenn Ellison was Gary's boss at MIT. He's also the father of Caroline Ellison, CEO of Alameda, who dated Sam Bankman-Fried, CEO of FTX, who went to MIT. And we're supposed to believe Gary just had a couple meetings with this guy? Come on. Tom Emmer says Gary Gensler and the SEC had more meetings with Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX IEX than anyone else in crypto, allegedly to craft a special regulatory framework designed to benefit FTX alone. Making backroom regulatory deals with bad actors is not a tool in the SEC's toolbox. Well, Tom, I will remind you that this is not the first time that this has happened. This also happened with a certain Bill Hinman and Jay Clayton back in the day. Hinman's calendar has 14 mentions of consensus, 4 mentions of Ethereum, 4 mentions of Joseph Lubin, 10 mentions of A16Z. In Hinman's calendar, there is no one the SEC has ever treated like this. Well, no one except for Sam Bankman-Fried. Are we noticing a pattern, everyone? Then Library comes in. Gary's bragging about how he's going to bring crypto platforms into compliance. And Library says, we'll give you $20 million you're demanding of us if you reply with a clear explanation of how to launch a public blockchain in the United States. This is a serious offer because there is no way to launch a blockchain in the United States. That is the point they're making. Then Empower Oversight has notified the court of the new SEC Freedom of Information Act request related to pending litigation on crypto conflicts of interest. And John Deaton says, power moved by Jason Foster. Time is running out for the SEC. Truth will have its day in court. Truth is, that's not what Gary Gensler is used to, is it? All right, and then we have this. Here is Sam Bankman-Fried himself doing his Madoff walk of shame on $250 million bail, which nobody can really figure out where did he get the $250 million. But watch this. I do not think that guy is equipped for what could potentially come his way. This is one flew over the cuckoo's nest crazy, this whole thing. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand why his parents put him in a position for this to happen. They had to know.
Watch this. What do you say to your investors who've lost so much?
I've got a 16-year-old, and he's at that point where he, just a year or two, he'll be out into that world in the college anyway. And I can't even begin to imagine putting my son in this kind of a position. It is absolutely crazy. Now, this has got to be my favorite tweet that I've seen this week. Maybe this makes the tweet of the year for me. It says, breaking. Sam Bankman-Fried moves back into his mom's basement. And he's literally, what's crazy about this is that he is literally moving into his mom's basement. And I just do not... This story is the most bizarre thing in the world. It is it's bizarre just the way that Madoff was bizarre. I mean, a lot of people don't remember, but with Madoff, Madoff did not get caught ever. Madoff, once the economy turned and did the downturn, Madoff sat his employees down and just told his employees that his whole business was built on a Ponzi scheme, and that he wanted, as a last, some goodwill to his employees, he wanted to give them all a bonus from the stolen money. Can you imagine that conversation? But he wanted to give them a bonus. And then after all these years of him being cozy and friends with the SEC and all these people telling the SEC to look into him, they never did. You really have to ask yourself, why is the SEC always right there involved and friends with all these people and meeting with them? At what point do you have to start asking the real question? The real question is, are they meeting with them? Or do they just know about it after the fact? Or are they involved? Because that's what this feels like. The BlockFi thing is, I mean, everything in my gut tells me that the BlockFi thing. So remember, SEC goes after BlockFi. They get $100 million settlement. Well, they want to get paid their $100 million. In comes FTX that they happen to be meeting with to pay the money to BlockFi so that BlockFi, I guess, can afford the money to be paid to the SEC. You seeing this? I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that I smell a rat. Thank you.